The stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against the vast darkness of space. The massive Imperial flagship Dominator moved silently through the void, its sleek silver hull gleaming under the light of distant suns. On the command bridge, Admiral Toll stood with his forearms clasped behind his back, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of the control panels. "How much longer until we reach this Earth?" he asked, the word sounding strange on his forked tongue. 3 hours. "Admiral," replied Commander Mox, tapping on a transparent screen. "Our scout ships have already entered their solar system and report minimal defensive capabilities." Admiral Toole nodded, his yellow eyes narrowing. The Emperor had sent him on many first contact missions before, but this one seemed hardly worth his time. These humans had barely managed to reach their own moon. Their technology was primitive, and their planet was divided into competing factions. They would be easy to bring into the Empire. "Prepare the standard intimidation formation," ordered Admiral Toole. "Let's show these primitives what real space power looks like." Behind the Dominator, 20 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation. Each one could destroy an entire city from orbit. The display of force had worked on hundreds of other species. It would work on humans too. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth, they detected unusual activity. The humans had noticed them coming and were scrambling their own vessels. Tiny, clumsy things powered by chemical rockets. Admiral Toole almost laughed at the sight of them on the view screen. "Look at those primitive ships," sneered Commander Mox. "They use combustion engines. How have they not blown themselves up yet?" "Remember, Commander, we were all primitive once," said Admiral Toole, though he couldn't hide his smile. "Open communication channels. Let's see if they can at least talk properly." The main screen flickered, and a human face appeared. It belonged to General Tom, head of Earth's Unified Defense Command. His expression was calm, which surprised Admiral Toole. Most species showed fear when facing the Imperial fleet for the first time. "Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Admiral Toole stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full height, nearly 8 feet tall. "I am Admiral Toole of the Galactic Empire. Your planet has been noticed by Emperor Drac, ruler of 1,000 worlds. We come to offer you the opportunity to join our glorious empire as a protected territory." General Tom's expression didn't change. "And if we're not interested in this opportunity?" The question took Admiral Toole by surprise. Most species begged to join the Empire after seeing their fleet. "Then we would be forced to demonstrate the benefits of our protection," said Admiral Toole, his voice growing colder. "Your world faces many dangers in this galaxy. It would be unfortunate if you had to face them alone." General Tom nodded slowly. "I see. Let me be clear, Admiral. Earth is not interested in becoming anyone's protected territory. We welcome peaceful relations with other civilizations, but we will defend our independence." Commander Mox couldn't contain his laughter. "Defend? With what? Those metal cans you call spaceships?" Admiral Tolle raised a hand to silence his subordinate, but the damage was done. General Tom's eyes hardened. "We may not have your advanced technology, Admiral, but humans have something your empire seems to lack: respect for others. I suggest you reconsider your approach." The communication ended abruptly, leaving Admiral Toole staring at a blank screen. For a moment he felt a flicker of unease. Most species submitted immediately. These humans were either very brave or very foolish. "They cut the transmission," exclaimed Commander Mox. "The primitives dare to disrespect the Empire." "Send a scout. Ship closer to their orbital stations," ordered Admiral Toole. "Let's see how they react to a closer look at our technology." One of the smaller Imperial ships broke formation and moved toward Earth's orbit, where several space stations and satellites floated. As it approached, sensors detected increased activity from Earth. "Admiral, the humans are launching something," reported the sensor officer. "It appears to be a small vessel of some kind. Primitive design, but moving at surprising speed." On the view screen, they watched as a human ship approached their scout vessel. It was small, perhaps 1/10 the size of the Imperial Scout with a boxy design that looked hastily assembled. Are they trying to attack us? Commander Mox laughed. With that, Admiral Toole wasn't laughing. Something felt wrong. Order our scout ship to maintain distance. But it was too late. The human vessel suddenly accelerated, moving with unexpected agility. It approached the Imperial scout ship and seemed to attach itself to its hull. What are they doing? Admiral Toole demanded. Before anyone could answer, a bright flash appeared on the screen. When it cleared, the Imperial scout ship was drifting, its systems offline. The human vessel had detached and was quickly retreating back to Earth. Impossible, shouted Commander Mox. They disabled an Imperial ship? How? Admiral Toole stared at the screen in disbelief. Analysis. What happened to our scout ship? It appears to be an electromagnetic pulse weapon, Admiral, said the science officer after a moment. Simple technology but effectively deployed. Our scout ship systems are rebooting now. Admiral Toole felt a cold feeling in his stomach. No newly discovered species had ever damaged an Imperial vessel during first contact. It was unheard of. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth again, said the communications officer. General Tom's face appeared on screen once more. That was a warning shot, Admiral. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for the alternative. You have 24 hours to leave our solar system. As the transmission ended, Admiral Toole stood in stunned silence. These humans were not like other species. They showed no fear. They had actually fought back and succeeded. Recall all ships, he finally ordered. We need to report this to the Emperor. These humans are unusual. As the Imperial fleet retreated to a safe distance, Admiral Toole gazed at the blue planet on the view screen. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain. The Empire had encountered thousands of species, but none quite like these humans. This isn't over, he murmured. The Empire doesn't tolerate resistance. We'll be back, humans, and next time we won't underestimate you. Little did he know that the Empire's worst nightmare was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the embarrassing first contact with Earth. The Imperial Council chambers buzzed with tension as Admiral Toole stood before Emperor Drac, explaining what had happened for the 20th time. And you're certain their technology was primitive? Asked Emperor Drac, his massive form looming on the throne. His skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with his irritation. Yes, Emperor. They still use combustion engines and chemical rockets. Their disabling of our scout ship was likely a lucky strike, Admiral Toole replied, trying to sound confident despite his doubt. Emperor Drac's eyes narrowed. Then we shall send a proper greeting force. Show these humans what it means to defy the Empire. Before Admiral Toole could respond, a junior officer burst into the chambers, breaking all protocol. Forgive me, Emperor, he gasped, dropping to his knees. Long-range sensors have detected something entering our controlled space in Sector 7. What is it? Demanded the Emperor. It appears to be a human ship, sir. A wave of laughter rippled through the council chamber. One small human ship was hardly a threat. And this required interrupting our council? Emperor Drac asked coldly. The officer trembled. Sir, the ship is massive, nearly the size of our largest battlecruiser, and the energy reading, they're off the charts. The laughter died instantly. Impossible, whispered Admiral Toole. They were just figuring out how to reach their own moon. Emperor Drac rose from his throne. Captain Ven. A tall, slender figure stepped forward from the shadows. Captain Ven was known throughout the Empire as their best strategist, with metallic implants covering half his face, enhancing his already impressive mental abilities. Take your battle group to intercept this human vessel. Determine if it truly is from Earth, and if so, how they've advanced so quickly. Captain Ven bowed low. As you command, Emperor. The Imperial battle group dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the edge of Sector 7. 5 sleek warships arranged themselves in attack formation, their weapons systems powered and ready. On the bridge of the lead ship, Invincible, Captain Ven studied the view screen with his organic eye, while his mechanical one processed data at incredible speeds. There it is. his second-in-command said quietly, pointing to a blip on the sensor display. Captain Venn zoomed in on the object. What he saw made his breath catch. The ship was unlike anything in the Imperial database. It was massive, nearly as large as their largest battlecruiser, but with a completely different design philosophy. Where Imperial ships were sleek and elegant, this vessel was blocky and overbuilt, with thick armor plating and what appeared to be multiple redundant systems. "That can't be a human warship," Captain Venn said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is that possible?" "Sir, they're hailing us," the communications officer reported. "On screen," ordered Captain Venn, straightening his uniform. The view screen flickered and a human face appeared. He wore a simple dark uniform with minimal decorations. "This is Captain Jack of the Earth vessel Defiance. We come in peace and request diplomatic talks with the Galactic Empire." Captain Venn studied the human carefully. "This is Captain Venn of the Imperial Defense Fleet. Your ship's capabilities exceed our intelligence reports on human technology. Explain yourselves." Captain Jack smiled slightly. "Captain, we've been watching the stars for centuries. Did you really think we would announce all our capabilities to the first aliens who arrived? You're claiming this level of advancement was hidden when we first contacted Earth?" Captain Venn asked incredulously. "Not hidden, just not displayed. Your Admiral Tool didn't exactly make a good first impression." Captain Venn's tactical mind raced. If the humans had deceived them about their technology, what else had they hidden? "Sir," his science officer whispered urgently, "our scans show their power source is some form of controlled fusion, but it's using principles our scientists believed were theoretically impossible to stabilize." Captain Venn kept his face neutral. "Captain Jack, the Emperor has authorized me to conduct preliminary negotiations. Would you be willing to come aboard my vessel?" "I'd be delighted," replied Captain Jack, "but I must insist on bringing a small security detail for diplomatic purposes." "Of course. We'll prepare a shuttle bay for your arrival." As the communication ended, Captain Venn turned to his crew. "Full analysis of that ship. I want to know everything about it before they arrive, and alert the Emperor immediately." An hour later, Captain Jack stood in the grand meeting room of the Invincible, accompanied by 3 human officers. They showed no signs of being impressed by the Imperial technology surrounding them. "Your ship is quite remarkable," Captain Venio began, gesturing for the humans to sit. "Our scientists are particularly interested in your power source." Captain Jack nodded. "Simple fusion, really. We've been working on it for centuries." "But the containment field you're using shouldn't be possible," said the Imperial science officer. "The energy required to maintain such stability would exceed the output." One of the human officers, a woman with short gray hair, smiled. "That would be true if you approached the problem from an energy containment perspective. We approached it from a material science angle instead." "Material science?" repeated Captain Venn, confused. "While you were developing energy fields to contain plasma, we were developing materials that could physically hold it," Captain Jack explained. "Different path, same destination." Captain Venn felt a chill run down his spine. The Empire had always focused on energy manipulation, considering physical materials to be a primitive approach. Had they been wrong all this time? "And your weapons systems?" he asked carefully. "We prefer not to discuss those unless necessary," replied Captain Jack. "We're here to talk peace, not war." Captain Venn nodded slowly. "Of course. However, you must understand our concern. 3 months ago, you were barely able to reach your own moon. Now you arrive in a warship rivaling our best vessels. As I said, Captain, we've been watching the stars for a long time. We knew we weren't alone, so we prepared. When your Admiral Tool arrived making threats, we simply accelerated our timeline." Before Captain Venn could respond, his communication device buzzed. "Excuse me," he said, stepping away to take the message. "Sir," came the urgent voice of his sensor officer, "we've detected energy signatures from the human vessel. They've activated some sort of weapon system." Captain Venn glanced back at the humans who were calmly waiting, showing no signs of hostility. "Are they targeting us?" he whispered. "No, sir. But the energy output it's off the charts. Whatever they're powering up could potentially disable our entire battle group." Captain Venn returned to the table, his face carefully composed. Captain Jack, our sensors indicate your ship has activated weapon systems. Care to explain? Captain Jack's expression didn't change. Just a precaution, Captain. Your Emperor has dispatched another fleet to our location. They'll arrive within the hour. We wanted to be prepared, just in case diplomacy fails. Captain Venn felt his heart racing. How had the humans detected the reinforcements? Even more concerning, how had they built such advanced sensor technology? I assure you there's no need for weapons, Captain Venn said, trying to keep his voice steady. The Emperor merely wishes to ensure these talks proceed smoothly. Of course, said Captain Jack with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then we'll continue our discussion. Now, about establishing formal diplomatic relations between Earth and your empire. As the talks proceeded, Captain Venn couldn't shake the feeling that everything the Empire thought they knew about humans was wrong, and that realization terrified him more than any weapon ever could. The Grand Imperial Council chamber fell silent as Captain Venn finished his report about the human vessel, Defiance. Even Emperor Drax seemed shaken, his luminescent patterns pulsing erratically across his massive form. You mean to tell me, the Emperor said slowly, that these humans have achieved controlled fusion using material containment rather than energy fields? Captain Venn nodded, his cybernetic eye whirring as it projected data onto the large screen behind him. Yes, Emperor, and that's just the beginning. Their approach to technology is fundamentally different from ours. Admiral Toole stepped forward, his scales now a pale yellow from stress. Different how? Where we pursue elegant solutions with minimal components, they build redundant, over-engineered systems, Captain Venn explained. Where we refine and perfect, they iterate and improvise. Most importantly, they've developed along technological paths we abandoned centuries ago, seeing them as inefficient. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. The Empire had always prided itself on elegant technological solutions, systems that worked with perfect efficiency and minimal waste. The idea that a species would deliberately choose a different path seemed almost offensive. Emperor Drac raised a hand for silence. Bring in the human delegates. I wish to hear this from them directly. Minutes later, Captain Jack and his team were escorted into the chamber. They showed no signs of intimidation despite being surrounded by the Empire's most powerful leaders. Captain Jack of Earth, Emperor Drac's voice boomed across the chamber. Your ship has caused quite a stir among my advisors. We find ourselves curious about human technology. Captain Jack bowed slightly. We're happy to explain, Emperor, though I should warn you that I'm a soldier, not a scientist. Dr. Anna here would be better suited to answer technical questions. The woman with gray hair stepped forward. Perhaps I can clarify some misconceptions. When we detected your scout ships approaching our solar system months ago, we realized we needed to accelerate our plans. You knew we were coming? Admiral Toole asked, surprised. Dr. Anna smiled. We've been watching the stars for centuries. Our telescopes detected your ships long before you entered our system. Impossible, snorted the Imperial Science Advisor. Your technology couldn't possibly. Actually, Dr. Anna interrupted politely. While our space travel technology was indeed limited, our observational equipment is quite advanced. We've been studying the universe from our planet's surface for hundreds of years. She tapped a small device on her wrist, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed what appeared to be the internal workings of the Defiance. The fundamental difference in our approach is this, she explained. Your empire builds ships like fine jewelry, precise, elegant, minimal. We build ships like fortresses, redundant, robust, over-engineered. The hologram zoomed in on the ship's power core. Take our fusion reactor. You contain plasma with energy fields, which is elegant but vulnerable to power fluctuations. We contain it with layers of specially developed materials that can physically withstand the heat and pressure. But that's so inefficient, protested the science advisor. Inefficient but reliable, countered Dr. Anna. If your energy field fails, your reactor fails. If one of our containment layers fails, we have 5 more backups. Emperor Drac leaned forward on his throne, genuinely intrigued. And this philosophy extends to all your systems? Yes, said Captain Jack, stepping forward again. Our ships don't have a single computer core. They have dozens of smaller ones that can take over, if others fail. We don't have one power distribution system. We have 6 separate grids. It's not elegant, but it's hard to kill. The hologram shifted to show the ship's weapon systems, and the Imperial Council grew noticeably tense. As for our weapons, Captain, Jack continued, we focused on kinetic energy rather than energy beams. Simple physics, mass times acceleration. We fire small projectiles at nearly the speed of light. Primitive ballistic weapons? Scoffed Commander Mox, who had been silent until now. Primitive concept, advanced execution, corrected Captain Jack. Each projectile masses only a few grams, but at near light speed it carries enough energy to disable a ship of your size. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Such weapons would bypass the Empire's sophisticated energy shields, which were designed to deflect energy weapons, not physical objects. Why reveal all this to us? Emperor Drac finally asked. Surely this gives away your tactical advantages. Captain, Jack's expression grew serious. Because we want peace, not war. Earth has no interest in conquest. We built the Defiance as a deterrent, not an invasion force. Dr. Anna added, we've been watching your empire expand for decades. We saw how you absorbed other species, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not. We decided it would be better to negotiate from a position of strength. Emperor Drac's bioluminescent patterns pulsed rapidly, a sign of deep thought among his species. And if we declined peaceful relations, if we decided your technology posed a threat to the Empire? Captain Jack's voice remained calm, but his eyes hardened. The Defiance isn't our only ship, Emperor. It's just the first one we decided to reveal. The implications hung in the air like a physical weight. If humans had been hiding this level of technological advancement, what else were they concealing? Admiral Toole's face showed shock. You're bluffing. Our scans detected no other ships of this capability in your system. Because they're not in our system, replied Captain Jack. After your first visit, we dispersed our fleet. Standard human military protocol. Never keep all your assets in one place. A junior officer rushed into the chamber, breaking protocol for the second time that day. He whispered urgently to Admiral Toole, whose scales paled even further. Emperor, Admiral Toole said shakily, long-range sensors have detected energy signatures, similar to the Defiance's, in 7 different sectors of Imperial space. Emperor Drac stood abruptly, towering over everyone in the room. Is this an invasion, Captain Jack? No, Emperor. It's insurance. Captain Jack replied calmly. Those ships have orders to maintain position unless Earth is attacked. They're observers only. For the first time in his long reign, Emperor Drac found himself truly uncertain. These humans had not only developed technology along paths the Empire had abandoned, but they had also deployed it throughout Imperial space without detection. I believe, the Emperor said slowly, that we should continue these diplomatic talks in a more formal setting. Perhaps a treaty between our peoples would be beneficial. Captain Jack nodded. That's why we came, Emperor. Not to threaten, but to establish understanding. Humanity wishes to join the galactic community as equals, not subjects. As the humans were escorted to the diplomatic wing of the Imperial Palace, Admiral Toole approached Emperor Drac. They can't possibly have the resources to build a fleet of ships like the Defiance, he whispered. It must be a bluff. Emperor Drac watched the humans leave, noting their confident stride and relaxed posture. Are you willing to risk the Empire to find out, Admiral? Because I am not. These humans are not primitive. They're dangerously innovative. And I begin to fear we've awakened something we don't fully understand. Outside the chamber, Captain Jack and Dr. Anna exchanged a subtle glance. Their gamble had worked. The Empire would negotiate now, not knowing that the Defiance was indeed their only completed warship. The other ships were merely engine cores, broadcasting similar signatures, a trick Earth's military had used for centuries to appear stronger than they were. But if all went well, they wouldn't need that trick much longer. The real fleet was already under construction back home. The Imperial War Room hummed with activity as Admiral Toole paced nervously before the massive holographic display. It showed the Defiance holding position at the edge of the Krell system, apparently waiting. The diplomatic talks have failed, Emperor Drac announced as he entered the room, his luminescent patterns pulsing deep red, a sign of anger. The humans refuse to submit to Imperial oversight. They demand recognition as an independent power. Admiral Toole bowed low. What are your orders, Emperor? Deploy the Imperial Armada. Show these upstart humans the true might of our empire. Emperor Drac commanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. 20 battle cruisers should be enough to deal with one ship, regardless of its unusual technology. Captain Venn, who stood quietly in the corner, stepped forward. With respect, Emperor, I believe we should reconsider. The humans have demonstrated capabilities we don't fully understand. Emperor Drac turned his massive head toward Captain Venn. Are you suggesting we allow a primitive species to dictate terms to the Empire? That we show weakness? Not weakness, caution, Captain Venn replied, at least until we better understand their technology. Your caution is noted, Captain, the Emperor said coldly. But the decision is made. Admiral Toole will lead the attack personally. As the Emperor left, Captain Venn approached Admiral Toole. Be careful, Admiral. Don't underestimate them again. Admiral Toole's scales flickered with annoyance. One ship against 20 of our finest battle cruisers? The odds favor us, Captain, regardless of their technology. Hours later, Admiral Toole stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Conqueror, leading the most impressive battle formation the Empire had assembled in decades. 20 sleek, deadly battle cruisers arranged in perfect attack formation, their energy weapons charged in shields at maximum strength. Before them floated the Defiance, alone and seemingly vulnerable. Its blocky, overbuilt design looked crude next to the elegant Imperial vessels. Open communication channels, ordered Admiral Toole. Captain Jack's face appeared on the main screen, looking remarkably calm for someone facing overwhelming odds. Captain, Jack, this is your final opportunity to surrender your vessel and submit to Imperial authority, Admiral Toole declared. Your ship is impressive, but it cannot stand against the Imperial Armada. Captain Jack smiled slightly. Admiral, we came here seeking peace. You chose war. What happens next is on your conscience, not ours. You threaten us with a single ship? Admiral Toole laughed. Your confidence borders on madness. Not confidence, mathematics, replied Captain Jack. You still don't understand what you're facing, but you will. The transmission ended abruptly. Prepare all weapons, Admiral Toole ordered. Target their propulsion systems first. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. The 20 Imperial battle cruisers moved into attack position, surrounding the Defiance. On Admiral Toole's command, they fired simultaneously, their energy weapons creating a beautiful but deadly light show in the darkness of space. To everyone's shock, the energy beams seemed to bend around the human vessel, as if sliding off an invisible surface. What happened? Demanded Admiral Toole. Report. Sir, the weapons officer stammered. They appear to have some sort of gravitational shield. It's bending our energy weapons away from the hull. Impossible, Admiral Toole hissed. No shield technology can... Sir, the sensor officer interrupted. The human ship is powering up its weapons systems. On the view screen, they watched as panels slid open along the Defiance's hull, revealing what looked like primitive gun barrels. They're using projectile weapons in space? Admiral Toole scoffed. How primitive? The sensor officer's voice shook as he replied. Sir, those aren't ordinary projectiles. They're accelerating to near light speed. The energy readings are off the charts. Before Admiral Toole could respond, the Defiance fired. There was no beam of light. No visible energy discharge, just a silent, invisible attack that tore through. The Relentless, one of their most advanced battle cruisers. Its shields, designed to stop energy weapons, offered no protection against physical objects moving at such speeds. Evasive maneuvers, shouted Admiral Toole, his composure finally breaking. All ships scatter formation. But the Defiance was already firing again and again, each shot precisely targeted and devastatingly effective. Imperial battlecruisers, the pride of their fleet, were being disabled one by technology the Empire had dismissed as inefficient centuries ago. "Sir, we've lost 6 ships already," reported the communications officer. 3 completely destroyed, 3 disabled. "How?" Admiral Toole demanded. "How can one ship do this?" The science officer looked up from his console, his face pale. "Their firing solution is perfect, sir. They've calculated the exact point to hit each ship to disable its primary systems with minimal damage. And their rate of fire, it's beyond anything we've ever seen." On the main screen, they watched as the Defiance methodically targeted another Imperial vessel. This time, they could see what was happening more clearly. The human ship fired what appeared to be a small metal projectile, no bigger than a finger. But moving at near light speed, its kinetic energy was enormous, punching through the Imperial ship's hull like paper. "Sir, they're hailing us," the communications officer said. "Captain," Jack's face appeared again, his expression now serious. "Admiral Toole, you've lost 9 ships. None of your weapons can penetrate our gravitational shields. Please stop this before more lives are lost." Admiral Toole stared at the screen in disbelief. Half his fleet disabled or destroyed in less than 10 minutes without the human ship taking a single hit. "What are you?" he whispered. "Just humans, Admiral," replied Captain Jack. "We simply took a different path. While you perfected energy weapons, we focused on kinetics. While you built elegant single-core computers, we built redundant networks. While you refined minimal designs, we overbuilt everything." Another Imperial battlecruiser exploded silently in the background, emphasizing his point. "Our shields aren't energy fields trying to stop your weapons," Captain Jack continued. "They're gravitational lenses, bending space itself to divert your attacks. Different approach, better results." Admiral Toole felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: fear. The Empire had always believed its technology was the pinnacle of advancement, that elegant solutions were inherently superior. Now, faced with the brutal effectiveness of human engineering, he was no longer certain. "Stand down all weapons," he finally ordered, his voice barely audible. "All ships, cease fire." A collective gasp went through the bridge. Never in living memory had an Imperial fleet retreated from battle. "Sir?" the weapons officer questioned uncertainly. "You heard me," Admiral Toole said more firmly. "We cannot win this fight, not today." Turning back to the screen, he addressed Captain Jack. "We will withdraw our forces, Captain. But know this: the Empire does not forget, and it does not forgive. This is not over." Captain Jack nodded solemnly. "We hope for peace, Admiral, but we're prepared for the alternative. Safe journey home." As the remaining Imperial ships limped away, Admiral Toole stared at the Defiance through the viewscreen. One ship had defeated half the Imperial Armada. The implications were staggering. "Set course for the capital," he ordered quietly. "The Emperor must be informed immediately." As the Imperial flagship entered faster than light travel, Admiral Toole couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for millennia, based on the assumption of technological superiority. That assumption had just been shattered by a species they had dismissed as primitive just months ago. And if the humans had built one such warship, how many more might they have? The thought sent a chill down his spine. The age of Imperial dominance might be coming to an end, not with a drawn-out war, but with a single battle that exposed the fundamental flaw in their thinking. Sometimes the elegant solution wasn't the best one after all. The Galactic Empire freaks out. That can't be a human warship. Is that possible? Part 5. A New Galactic Order. The Imperial capital planet Zarvis Prime had never seen such chaos. News of the Imperial Armada's defeat spread like wildfire across thousands of worlds. In the Grand Imperial Palace, Emperor Drac faced an unprecedented crisis as representatives from dozens of species demanded emergency council sessions. "The humans defeated half our fleet with a single ship?" asked Councillor Vex of the Tulari Confederation. his antennae twitching with disbelief. The same humans we classified as a primitive species just months ago. Emperor Drac sat heavily on his throne, his once bright bioluminescent patterns now dim with stress. The reports are accurate, he admitted reluctantly. Their technology followed different development paths than ours. We underestimated them. The council chamber erupted in shouting. Some demanded immediate all-out war against Earth, others called for negotiation, and a few were already discussing how to align themselves with the humans for protection against imperial retribution. "Silence!" roared Emperor Drac, rising to his full height. "We are the Galactic Empire. We have ruled for 10,000 years. We will not be undone by one setback." As the chamber quieted, the doors slid open. All heads turned to see Captain Ven enter with an urgent message. "Emperor," he said, bowing quickly, "our long-range sensors have detected multiple ships entering Imperial space. They match the Defiance's energy signature." "How many?" asked Admiral Toole, his scales now a sickly yellow-gray. Captain Ven's cybernetic eye whirred as he projected data onto the main screen. 17 vessels, Emperor, all apparently of human design." A heavy silence fell over the council chamber. After witnessing what one such ship could do, the thought of facing 17 was terrifying. They're arranging themselves in a defensive formation around key Imperial trade routes, Captain Ven continued. "Not attacking, just positioning." "A blockade?" suggested Councillor Vex. "No," replied Captain Ven. "They're allowing all ships to pass freely. They appear to be simply observing." Emperor Drac's mind raced. This was worse than an attack. It was a demonstration. The humans were showing they could deploy ships throughout Imperial space at will. "They're requesting communication, Emperor," Captain Ven added. "Captain Jack wishes to speak directly to the Council." Emperor Drac nodded grimly. "Put him through." The main screen flickered, and Captain Jack appeared, now wearing a more formal uniform with simple insignia. "Emperor Drac, honorable council members," he began with a polite nod. "I hope our ship's presence hasn't caused undue alarm. They're under strict orders to maintain position and take no hostile action unless provoked. You deploy warships throughout our territory and claim peaceful intentions," Admiral Toole hissed. "This is an act of war." Captain Jack remained calm. "Actually, Admiral, we consider it necessary protection for our diplomatic team. Your attack on the Defiance made it clear that some elements of your empire prefer force to negotiation." "What do you want, human?" Emperor Drac asked directly, silencing Admiral Toole with a glare. "The same thing we've wanted from the beginning. Peaceful coexistence," replied Captain Jack. "Earth has no desire for conquest or subjugation, but neither will we be subjugated." "Your terms?" asked Emperor Drac, surprising everyone with his directness. Captain Jack seemed pleased by the Emperor's practicality. "Recognition of Earth and its colonies as a sovereign entity, non-aggression pacts, fair trade agreements, and—" He paused, looking directly at Emperor Drac. "An end to the Empire's policy of forced assimilation, not just for humans, but for all species." The Council erupted again. What Captain Jack was proposing would fundamentally change the Empire's expansion model that had existed for millennia. "Impossible!" shouted several councillors. Emperor Drac raised a hand for silence. "You ask too much, human. The Empire's methods have maintained peace and order for 10,000 years. "Have they?" countered Captain Jack. "Or have they simply suppressed resistance through overwhelming force? Force that, as we've demonstrated, is no longer overwhelming." As if on cue, the screen split to show feeds from the 17 human ships now positioned throughout Imperial space. Each one looked slightly different from the Defiance, some larger, some smaller, but all sharing the same blocky, overbuilt design philosophy. "Each of these ships is specialized," Captain Jack explained. "Some for defense, others for support, others for combat. Together they form the first human interstellar fleet. A small demonstration of what we can build when necessary." Emperor Drac understood the implicit threat. The Empire had always relied on its technological advantage to maintain control. If the humans could build ships that rendered Imperial weapons ineffective, everything changed. And if we refuse your terms, he asked quietly. Then we'll defend ourselves, Captain Jack said simply. But we hope it won't come to that. We're offering partnership, not surrender. The Emperor studied the human captain thoughtfully. You could have attacked when our fleet retreated. You held the advantage. Why didn't you? Captain Jack's expression softened slightly. Because that's not who we are, Emperor. Humans have fought countless wars among ourselves throughout our history. We've learned the hard way that victory through destruction only leads to more conflict. He gestured to someone off screen, and Dr. Anna stepped into view. We've prepared a proposal, she said, for a new kind of galactic alliance. Not an empire ruled by one species, but a confederation of equals, each contributing their unique perspectives and technologies. Data began streaming to the Imperial systems. Detailed plans for a restructured galactic government, trade agreements, technological exchange protocols, and more. We've studied your history, Dr. Anna continued. Your empire began as a force for stability after the Chaos Wars. You brought order to a fractured galaxy, but systems must evolve or they stagnate and eventually collapse. Emperor Drac was silent for a long moment, processing. In his 10,000 years of rule, no species had ever approached the Empire as equals. They had always been conquered, or they had submitted willingly. This was unprecedented. Your proposal will require consideration, he finally said. The Empire does not change course quickly. We understand, replied Captain Jack. Our fleet will maintain position as a goodwill gesture, but will take no hostile action. Our diplomatic team will remain available for further discussions. After the transmission ended, the council chamber remained silent. For the first time in living memory, the Empire faced a species it could not simply overwhelm with superior technology or numbers. Could we defeat them in an all-out war? Emperor Drac asked Admiral Tool privately after dismissing the council. Admiral Tool's scales flickered with uncertainty. Perhaps, Emperor, but the cost would be immense. And if there are more human ships under construction— There are, confirmed Captain Venn, who had remained behind. Our intelligence suggests their production facilities are operating at full capacity. They're building more ships even as we speak. Emperor Drac moved to the window overlooking the capital city. For 10 millennia, the Empire had represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Its technology was unmatched, its military undefeated. Now, a species they had dismissed as primitive had fundamentally challenged that order. Perhaps, he said slowly, it is time for the Empire to evolve, as the humans suggested. Admiral Tool looked shocked. Emperor, you can't seriously be considering their proposal, can't I? Emperor Drac turned to face his most trusted advisor. Our defeat wasn't just military, Admiral. It was philosophical. We believed our technological path was the only valid one. The humans proved otherwise. What other assumptions might we be wrong about? Captain Venn stepped forward. The humans' approach to technology is fascinating, Emperor. Different but effective. If we could learn from each other rather than fight. The Emperor nodded thoughtfully. Prepare a response to the humans. We will negotiate. As word spread throughout the galaxy that the mighty Empire was negotiating, with humans as equals, other species began to reconsider their place in the galactic order. Some reached out to Earth directly, seeking alliances and trade agreements. Others began demanding similar treatment from the Empire. A new era was beginning, not through conquest or submission, but through the recognition that different paths could lead to similar destinations, and that sometimes the most elegant solution wasn't always the best one. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Jack received the Emperor's response and smiled. Phase 1 was complete. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by becoming like the other species, but by remaining uniquely human, innovative, adaptive, and endlessly resourceful. The real work was just beginning.